Hi, I'm Dr. Joanne Smith.
And I'm Dr. Corinda Hankins.
And this is A
Podful of Pediatrics.
Subscribe here for more content.
Or go to onecommunityhealth.org.
Or follow us on social media at One Community Gorge.
And this is the one where we talk about behavior and parenting
the young child.
Parenting the young child, that's right.
That's right. Yeah. We had to separate it out because there's so much to say.
I know. Oh my God, this took so long.
Yes. This is one of the topics we get most questions about at any age because it's kind of a continuous thing, right?
Right.
You have to keep on parenting because you're a parent.
That's right. That's right. Once you have that child, you are set and you have to parent for life. And actually, it is really something that you want to think about before you have children.
If you have that option.
If you have that option, right? Because parenting and how you parent is actually really important for
it is.
And
raising. It's hard. It's hard work, but so worth the effort, right?
It is.
And it's difficult. Because you have different challenges at different stages of life. And the thing you have to remember is it's okay to get upset. And it's okay to not enjoy every moment of it. Give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
Take some breaks. And you will make mistakes.
You do.
And it's okay.
Yeah. There's a reason that there's a lot of parenting books and not one parenting book because...
Because there's lots of opinions.
There's lots of opinions. There's lots of evidence. There's all these things about how you parent like the best. But truthfully, parenting is a combination of things, and what works for one child will not work for for the other ones, even in your own children. And I think the part you said about making mistakes is really important. That there's no perfect parenting book because there are no perfect parents and there are no perfect children.
They are people.
Yeah. And everybody makes mistakes. And that's okay if you love your children and you want to do what's best for them and you're willing to care for them no matter what. That is what shows through in parents.
Right.
So the parents who just love their kids and want to do what's best and are interested in actually parenting so that their kids end up happy and healthy and able to survive in the world,
people, right? Yeah,
that is the most important thing about parenting.
And it takes more than one person, right? We talk about it does take a village. It takes both caregivers, if there are two caregivers, to be on the same page,
right? And if there aren't, then it actually takes help. It's really hard to be a parent totally by yourself. So use your village, whether that's grandparents, friends, partners, whatever that is.
And other parents, right? They are going through it too. So
yes.
They're a really good resource to give each other breaks.
Yeah.
Ask for help when you need it.
Yeah. And I think what I was talking about before, thinking about those things in parenting that you really want to have successful. So what is your thing you want your child to be? Mine was that I really wanted to raise kind kids who knew who could participate and actually maybe help the world in some way, right? That for me was a big thing.
Work hard, right? That's an important thing for both of us with our kids. And it's different for different parents. You have different goals. Some want them to be the best athlete there ever was or the chess champion. You're going to raise those kids differently, but you and your partner should have that conversation from the beginning.
Yes.
About what's our goals for our children.
Yeah. And then when you start. So we're going to really talk about young children today.
Exactly.
And there's some people who are like, oh, you really can't parent an infant. Actually, that's not true.
Right? And the thing about
infancy is all about parenting.
It is all about parenting. You're on 100% of the time. And you can't really spoil a baby. One is because they don't have a memory, so they don't remember it. But also what they need at the beginning is just basic nurturing, right? They need to be held. They need to be fed. They need to be kept clean and warm. And so you need to have hands-on with them as much as you can. Right. There is really, I always kind of say you cannot spoil a baby. Newborns can't be spoiled. When they cry, crying is normal. Crying is just communication. And here's the thing, no matter how often you change their diaper and feed them and do that, they will still cry. They just do sometimes. And it's not your fault. That's a little mantra you need to say in your head. It's not my fault. They're just going to cry. That's right. And the thing about that is, even though we say you can't spoil them, love them as much as you want, it's okay to say, I need to have a break. Right. To hand them off to someone else, to put them down, because you need to do some self-care so you can take care of them. Right. Because babies do cry.
all the time. It's really normal.
Mm-hmm.
They cry at least 3 hours of the day, and sometimes they can cry like 5 or more hours in a day.
And it's a long time.
It is a long. That is a long time.
Large percentage of your day. And at the beginning, their cry is just their cry.
It
I
is.
don't know. Are you hungry? Are you tired? Or do you have a dirty diaper again?
Totally
Are you
nondescriptive.
bored? Yeah, and don't try to second guess yourself. Just eliminate the possibilities.
That's
When did
right.
they last eat? Let me check your diaper again. Are you too hot? Are you too cold? And realizing if you can't find anything, it's
Then
okay.
just love them.
They're just crying.
That's right. And that's okay too. And that's when, like, if you're, like if you are feeling like, because this can be really lonely and scary when you have a baby
Overwhelming.
who's crying for this long, and especially we'll talk a little about colic, but when that like is really all in one time period, you are very scared and alone. Like no matter how it happens, there's going to be moments where like it's just you with a baby who's cried for 3 hours. Like, what do you do? And there are important things that you can do to make sure you and the baby stay safe. And one of them, though, is asking for help. Ask for help.
Yes.
Like, it is okay to ask for help. You do not have to be a super mom. You do not have to be a martyr. All you have to do is recognize that there are things that you need help through.
Right.
And this is one of them. Sometimes because you're tired, exhausted, like that's the other thing. And the other thing I talk about a little bit, just to add in for infants, is that you can't spoil them. And the bond that you create, and this is so important, like this bond that we create between ourselves and our children. Bonding is a huge part of parenting.
Starts
And
day one.
It starts day one. And it actually, how we bond, how we make those relationships with our child will affect our parenting all the way through
And
their
affect their
teenagers
relationships
into
with
adulthood.
other people, right? I mean, that's kind of you're helping them figure out how to trust.
Yeah.
From
So
the very beginning.
infant bonding, super important. But sometimes moms have, like, they're depressed or they're sad. And postpartum depression is a real thing.
It is. And it doesn't seem obvious to a lot of people because at the beginning you're super tired and your also body is trying to get back to itself. And so a lot of times people don't recognize that they have postpartum depression, and other people don't recognize it in them because they're like, oh, they're just tired because they had a baby, or they're just feeling, swollen or overwhelmed.
Right. But it's really important to try to recognize in yourself, because that will affect that bonding, because it affects like how your relationships are with everybody when you're sad. Really sad. And so while very like emotional roller coasters are very normal in that first part, if you are having that time where you're just really sad, it is important to get help, and get help early, because it does really help bonding if you can get through that.
And kind of one of the signs of postpartum depression too is that you just are not feeling bonded with your baby.
Yeah.
You feel like you're not making that connection. And if that's happening, talk to someone.
Yeah.
Because it's very treatable.
It is very treatable, and it will affect. And again, it's curable, like in the sense that you can, even if you're not making that bond perfectly in those first few weeks, if you can get treatment and help, you will be able to make it. It changes how you feel about everything. So ask for help when you need it is one of the biggest things I would have to say about parenting, and that is actually from infancy all the way to adulthood. Ask for help.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. And everybody's had problems.
Everybody's had something they had to go through,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So there is a good resource on crying that, like we were saying, it's actually the one that they make you look at in most of the hospital before discharge. I cannot remember any of it, and I had to watch it 3 times. And that's because they show it to you when you're at your most exhausted, right?
When you're just trying to keep your eyes open before you get discharged from the hospital.
But it's actually an acronym. It's called PURPLE, and it's for the period of purple crying from the National Center of Shaken Baby Syndrome. And it talks about that there's a peak of crying. Your baby may cry more with each week, up to 2 months. Yes. That's the horrible part. It just keeps going.
Yes. It's many weeks of this. And we actually, in the podcast notes, we have the attachment, so you can watch the video or read about it.
Or you can read about it.
But again, it's very reassuring as a parent to know, this is what's going to happen. Your
right.
baby's going to cry, and it's not your fault.
That's right. And that crying can be unexpected. Often it resists soothing. They have this pain-like face that makes you think they're having the most pain, but it's actually the same face no matter what they cry.
It's just that baby face can't do a lot of things yet. They haven't learned a lot of different gestures or different emotions in their faces yet. So they only kind of have nothing, or pain.
Yeah.
That's all we got.
That's all we got. And then long lasting, like I said, sometimes it can last up to 5 hours a day, which is
the average is 3 hours. So everyone is going to get some crying.
And then finally, the E is evening. And they may happen or cry more often in the afternoon or evening. It does bring us to like that colic cry, which is a little bit different. And I have a ton of parents ask me about this. And I will say, once I had my child with colic, I realized that I was never empathetic enough to parents with colic.
Yeah, you're like, whatever. But then you're like, oh my God, it's so hard.
Like, it was horrible.
Yes.
My oldest son was like such a colicky baby, and I learned a lot about how to be empathetic to parents with children with colic. But I also learned a lot that there's, all these things you try, all these things you do, and it's just them. It is we think it's like a gut maturational issue.
Yeah, their whole body just trying to figure things out, all the neurons.
It is.
And I have a theory, since I also had a child with colic, that the kids with colic are the ones that are just noticing everything all the time. It's just overwhelming sensation to their body, and they just can't turn it off, because I feel like those kids become very creative and absorbing kind of people.
I do. And I also think that the other part of it that, that we found too, is that sometimes it often is more likely to happen with your first child. And I think that's partly because, and studies have shown that parents are a little more anxious with their first child, and that probably transmits a little bit and makes it a little harder for babies to adjust to this new world, because we're adjusting to them, right? And so we're not always sure how to kind of soothe and do all of that thing. And I know that I was an anxious mom. I'm still an anxious mom.
What? No, are you kidding?
I'm still an anxious parent. I don't think I'll ever not be an anxious parent. But that's kind of why I wanted to do this, is that just because you're an anxious parenting, just because parenting is hard, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Right.
And one of the biggest things for parenting is that you just really work and give it an effort to do.
Every day's a new day.
Every day's a new day. That's right.
And really, differentiation between the expected purple period crying and colic is the duration.
Yeah.
The purple period kind of ends by about 2 months. Colic tends to last for another couple months after
It does peak at the same time. Like, you have that peaking at 6 weeks to 2 months. And I will say that a lot of times it is a longer, harder crying. Like, it is impressively horrible.
So when this was happening to you, we didn't have this book called The Happiest Baby on the Block. It was written afterwards, but it's a really great resource for how to soothe a fussy baby at the beginning.
And I really love it, because it is actually a lot of those things that parents do naturally for colicky kids, and you talk about them, but this is all one resource, and it's called the 5 S's.
Yes.
And I often, we kind of say, we both kind of demonstrate how to do the 5 S's in our office.
Especially when you're trying to talk and you have a crying baby. And I automatically just pick the baby up, swaddle. The first S is swaddle, and you take a blanket and you make them a little burrito. And if you don't know how to do that, ask them in the newborn nursery, because those nurses are amazing at showing you how to do.
I do think it's important, use the thin cotton blankets, like those big, heavy, thicker blankets, or the little silky blankets are really hard to make a good burrito with. And that swaddling is how they felt inside you. So it's really
they're gonna feel sucked in.
It is, and they like that feeling. And so it's often the most important part of getting a baby to calm. And then we kind of put them on your chest, on their stomach, kind of helps them calm a little bit. We don't want them to sleep that way, but just to get them to calm, put them on their side or their stomach. Yeah, side stomach is kind of the positioning, and they should still sleep on their back, but they can be on you on their stomach. And then shushing. Yes. You make those shh. Which sounds. Data has shown that you doing it with your voice is much more effective than playing a machine in the room. Yeah. Right? They don't notice that white noise, but if you're actually purposefully making noise, it is much more reassuring, because it's interactive. Yeah, and it actually sounds like the blood supply in your womb, which kind of goes along with your heart. So it went shh, 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 which is why, again, soothing for babies, right? That was pretty fast. I know. It was like a lot of shushing. Well, especially when you have a baby who's crying, you're like, shh, 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 shh. It gets higher and higher pitch, right? Yes.
And then, swinging. And we both demonstrate, we should have brought a baby doll.
We should have.
So I demonstrate the forward method, which you hold the baby's chin, like support their jaw. So you're not pressing on their neck at all, but you have their fingers underneath their jaw. And then you put another hand on their belly underneath their butt. And then you hold them in close and you just kind of rock back side to side, swinging, and that makes them feel like they're in utero again. Plus, you're pushing their belly a little bit, which helps with gas. If they're going to puke, they're not going to puke on you. They puke away from you. Yeah. And when you do that, they always fall asleep.
Yeah.
So at least temporarily, you can oh my God, they stop crying.
You can't put them down.
You can't put them down, and your hands are full of babies, so you can't do it for a long time. But at least gives you some temporary relief of okay, they will stop crying for a little bit.
Yeah, and then the last one's sucking. And pacifiers are okay. They decrease your risk of sudden infant death syndrome. It is not shoving the pacifier in the baby's mouth.
No.
It is I like the ones where you can actually put your finger in and you can kind of start to get them into the sucking motion, because it often is calming in and of itself. And I do the demonstrate on their side. So I actually have the baby, I burrito wrap them. I'm on my little chair that swings, and I put the little pacifier in, hold their head and neck, and I swing them back and forth. And it's actually in between my legs, which is really calm. Yeah. And I said that one of the reasons I do that is because my son, who had horrible colic, the only thing I could do was actually, we didn't have the 5 S's. So I either was feeding him, he was horribly fat, or
fat for the brain.
Yeah, lots of fat for the brain growth. Or I was walking, because that was the only thing that calmed him. And so I did find that if I could rock in a chair, it was really nice, but it did have to be a little bit more of a swinging motion than like this. Yes. And you never want to rock their head, right? So again, really important, support their neck and head. Yeah. But all those things can kind of work. And if it's not working, talk to your doctor. They have shown that probiotics can be a little bit helpful in colic.
Especially if their poop is a little weird.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that if they do have a lot of reflux, decreasing dairy will help too. And then again, if all else fails, if they are crying, they're breathing.
Right. So it's okay to put them down in their bed by themselves on their back. And
get a drink of water.
Go get some water.
Take some deep breaths.
Meditate a moment. Because the more stressed you get, the more the baby feels that stress. So it's important to just let it go a little bit and then try to go back.
And they're fine because they're crying. They're screaming.
Yeah, they're screaming. Nobody ever got broken by crying.
That's
they may puke, but they just turn their head to the side and they just puke. They're fine.
So that's the biggest thing with kind of infants. When we talk about as babies start to move, parenting is still really, really important, right?
Yes, you have to be engaged and paying attention.
Engaged, paying attention means get off your phone.
Yes.
No media for you or babies, right? Get off your phone, pay attention to your baby. And this is why we call it baby proofing.
Right.
Right? This is the age. You're not saying no all the time. You are actually just removing things that are dangerous. Yes. And then you distract and redirect.
Yeah, and baby proofing is an ongoing process. You try to start around 6 months, but you're going to have to keep making further changes because they keep finding things. And you're like, oh man, I didn't even think about that. So just be open to, we just got to keep on changing things to keep the baby safe.
Yeah, I was amazed at because I was, again, an anxious mom.
What?
Still an anxious mom, but super anxious when my first child was born. So I had baby proofed, I thought, amazingly well. Mm-hmm. I did everything. I put everything up high. I locked. We found cabinet locks. We found toilet locks. We had everything ready by the time he was 6 months. I had everything. I had even we had these edge of the carpet or the things that were really hard to find stuff to do. We fixed it and made sure that everything, they couldn't fall and hit their heads. We had everything baby proofed. I still called poison control 3 times.
You still kept feeding your baby poison.
I know. I was like, how in the world does this child find these things?
Yeah.
I thought I had done
for
so
poison
well.
Control. Poison control number is 1-800-222-1222, and it's nationwide, and it just directs you to the closest center. And they're so lovely.
They are the most lovely
You can call
people.
up there, never judge you. They will just give you the true advice of what you need to worry about, what things could happen in the future.
Yeah. And then they call you back and check and make sure it's okay.
So if your child puts anything in their mouth that you're like, I don't know if that's okay, just call them.
That's right. And then really just be on the alert for choking and those types of things. But again, it's really just distracting and redirecting. So one of the things we do is you're going to have your 8-month-old or 9-month-old who's crawling around and you're going to try to be making dinner and you can't distract. Like the stove is unbaby-proof.
You cannot child-proof a stove.
You can't
no matter
child-proof
what
a
you
stove.
try.
Like you have to have it in the middle of your room, right? But what you can do is have a cabinet that's full of plastic things that the baby can open and close.
Right. And put like toys in there. Like
Yeah.
make it like a little treasure trove that they go, ooh, what's in here today?
Yeah.
Right. And the more you distract them, then the less they're trying to get into the stove or the dishwasher. My son was always in the dishwasher.
I know. It's like my dogs. But yes, like for some reason those things really, really attract them. And so it's really just about distracting and redirecting. So when they are doing something that is difficult or that type of thing, just redirect them to something else. And that's really what we're doing for parenting at this age, is making sure we're meeting all their needs, loving them as much as we can, and keeping them safe.
Absolutely. And then the actual more conscious parenting kind of starts at toddler age. So around 12 to 15 months is where they start to have more memory. So what you do actually makes a difference.
Yeah. And boundaries are so important at this age.
Absolutely.
So this idea that they're just going to learn from their own mistakes and boundaries, they'll find their own things. Actually, we make the boundaries and that actually makes them feel safe.
Right.
A lot of child development is that thing of who's paying attention to me? Is someone noticing what I'm doing? Do they care enough to stop me from doing something bad?
Right.
And is that bad? Like, can I walk off of a cliff? No,
you
of course you can't.
And they won't learn safety until 2. They will do something, get hurt, and then they just do it again faster.
Yeah.
Right? So don't expect them to learn from their mistakes until about 2. Before then, you're really just trying to keep them safe. And again, feel reassured that I'm paying attention to you and I care about you.
And there's boundaries that I know. They're testing them all the time. They're like, can I go over there? Oh, I don't know. Can I do that again? Like they're testing all these boundaries over and over again. And it really does feel them safe to have a mom or a dad say, actually, you know what? That's locked. I can't do that. Like, I know somebody's paying attention that I might get hurt if I do it. And while they can't know that consciously, they do know it unconsciously, that there is somebody paying attention to them and making sure that they're staying safe and healthy.
Yes. And this is kind of when I talk to parents about toddlers, I separate things into major crimes, minor crimes, and annoying stuff. So
I really like that.
Yes.
I'm going to use that now.
Annoying stuff is making a mess, doing something that's not hurting them or anyone else. It's just being chaos, right? So you really try to ignore that behavior. When they've thrown crayons all over the floor, just ignore it, pick it up later. Because if you pay attention to it, they're like, well, I'm going to do this every day because it gets their attention, right?
And it is kind of the thing that is what they're seeking the most. So, as you get into this 9 to 18 month age, they're kind of being a little bit more autonomous, but even if they try to do something, they'll try to crawl, they'll try to walk. They'll look back at you and are you coming?
Yeah.
Are you paying attention?
Hey, think about this.
Are you going to clap for me? Where's my clap?
Where's my celebration?
What is happening? Why aren't you clapping that I'm walking, right? So this types of thing, they want your attention all the time. So sometimes that's what those annoying things are.
Yes.
They're kind of saying, hey,
look at this mess I can make.
It's fun. Are you going to do anything about that?
Yes.
And so they're testing those boundaries, finding those things. And if they are really annoying things, that's okay. You don't have to do anything about it. Just ignore it and they'll stop doing it.
Right. And then minor crimes is a little bit mean, a little bit unsafe, but not intentionally. Like standing on a chair, throwing something at your head. And with those situations, you're going to say no, and you're going to kind of move them away from the situation. And then you're going to create it that they cannot do it again. So this is a thing I always point out to parents. Don't put your kid up on the counter when you walk in the kitchen and not expect them to try to climb back up on the counter. Right? I mean, you have to create the situation that they're like, oh, I don't get on counters. Right. Otherwise, I'm going to fall.
Don't put the really cute, ornamental thing on top of the bookshelf if you don't want your child to try to get it off the bookshelf. That's the thing is they're like, oh, can I get that? It looks cool, right? Sometimes you actually have to move it higher or put it away until they're bigger.
And make sure your furniture is attached to the wall and that when you shake it, nothing falls off on their head.
Right.
Because these are things that toddlers are going to try to do, not to try to be naughty, right? No. They're just exploring their world around them. So those minor crimes, you're pay attention to it, make it that they can't recreate it, but they're not really in trouble, because there was no malintent.
That's right. That's right. And like during those things, like focus, like a lot of times, like we talked about, like they are trying to get your attention in a lot of ways, even with your minor things. So focus on when they're like doing that in a positive way, right? Like, so if they come over and ask you a question or ask you to read a book, stop what you're doing and read the book. It's 30 seconds.
Right. Their attention span's not very long. You're not going to have to get all in depth here. If they bring a book to you, just pretend to read it or read it, and then they'll be like, okay, thanks. You noticed me. That's
right. That's good. And then and you actually can kind of, by doing that, you're praising that really like behavior that's positive. They're trying to get your attention in a positive way. And you are positively reinforcing that type of behavior. Like you're saying, yeah, this is great. If you do this, I'm totally going to pay attention to me. If you ask, please, if you bring me something, I'm going to totally pay attention to you. A lot of that thing is, a lot of this age, like bad behavior, or what we call bad behavior, comes from them not being able to communicate and not really knowing what it is. Right. And then recognizing that bad behavior does get your attention.
Right.
So if you aren't positively reinforcing positive behavior, or good behavior, then you will end up positively reinforcing bad behavior.
And so like the last one, the major crimes, is mean on purpose, where like they purposely hit or pinch or pull hair. You know, you can see it that they're doing it out of anger or just to hurt.
Or frustration.
Right?
Like, I can't get anybody's attention any other way, so I will get it this way.
And so with that, you try to calmly react, and with one sentence you say, we don't pull hair, we don't bite, whatever it was, and you try to get eye-to-eye contact. You know, I either bring them up to you, go down to him, and just hold you very closely and just say one sentence, and then put them down and turn your back on them, like 30 to 60 seconds, just literally turn around. And then you're ignoring them because the choices they made are not things you want to reward.
Right. Because if you pick them up, if you hold them while they're screaming and crying, if you like try to negotiate or like try to make them understand why that's bad, all of those things actually give them attention.
Right.
And they positively reinforce a negative behavior. And we don't want to do that. We don't want them to keep using that behavior.
Right.
I mean, I use my son as, again, my son is the example for a lot of these parenting mistakes.
It's the first kid syndrome, right? That's when you're...
I made a lot of parenting mistakes. I did some with my other children too, but he was my classic. But one of the parenting mistakes I made is that he would literally, for his temper tantrums, like these are temper tantrums, right? And often that's what these things are that we're talking about. Like we would say he couldn't have something, or he would have something break or take it away, and he would like just melt down. And usually he'd literally throw himself down on the floor, like bang his arms, legs, and head against the floor, like full on, like head banging the floor.
You could hear it.
Yeah, like, and it was super distressful, right? Like I'm like, oh my God, honey, don't hurt yourself. I'd go and rush and pick him up, right? But one time he actually did it in the kitchen. And our kitchen is concrete, or the really hard marble floors, and our living room is carpet. And every other time he'd done it in the carpet. And then this time he like threw himself on the floor, started slamming his head down, and then he stopped. And he's like, he looks around, he's like, ah, and then he stands up, runs into the other room where there's carpet, throws himself down on the floor, and continues banging his head. And I'm like, oh my God, he was totally, it hurt him, so he stopped.
Behavior, right?
It was totally planned behavior. Yeah. And I was like, I have been parenting this all wrong.
It was an eye-opening moment, right? Where you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, like it was truly there. I was like, okay, so all he was trying to do was getting our attention. So I need to find a way to not give him this attention. And it still was super bothersome to me. He had a really big head. I was actually scared he really was going to hurt, and he wasn't going to. That's why he went into the carpet.
Right.
But it was stressful to me. So I found a safe place for him to do it. So whenever he would throw himself on the floor, I'd calmly say, no, pick him up, put him in the pack and play, let him hurt him, like let him throw himself and bonk his head and not hurt himself and walk away. And it took 3 times. And he stopped.
He was like, this is a waste of my time.
It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my effort, because I'm not going to get what I want.
Yes, and that's kind of the toddler tantrums. We know there's a science to them. We've talked about it before. They when they don't get what they want, or they're tired, or they're hungry, they throw themselves down and they lose control, where they build up to a big crescendo where there is a scream or yell and then a violent act where they kick, hit, or throw something, and then they're done.
Yeah.
So if it gets to that point, you have to kind of let them go, the crescendo, and come back down, because if you interrupt it in between, it's just going to last longer.
Yeah.
It's not going to burn out. And the way you try to prevent the tantrums is being proactive. When you know we're going into the store and you're tired or you're hungry, try to get them to eat something or have a snack or have a nap before you go, so you're not setting them up for disaster.
Or bring distractions, right? Like I was saying, like my first stop would be the fruit aisle, and I would buy some blueberries and let them eat blueberries, right? Like
were they just totally blue by the end?
Yeah,
like
totally.
their hands on their face.
But it was fine. Like they, didn't scream, didn't cry. It was all good. Bubbles, great distraction. Not great for in the store, because like then it gets all slicky and people fall. Bad parenting. But but a lot of times that's a great resource. Like any of those things that can distract and kind of like basically just have the
always
moments.
Hard.
It is hard.
My son was a very active kid, and his thing we like to do as a toddler is go and just take something off the shelf and put it in the cart, throw it in the cart. And I look around and be like, what? I didn't buy that. And so what I learned is each aisle I had to give him a thing to get. I'd be like, get me a pasta. And he would get me a pasta, or get me whatever. And if I gave him a goal and he could bring it and throw it in the cart, then he wouldn't bring random things into my cart.
Which is, again, a way to sort of distract and help. But it also, one of these things that we are teaching is one of the most important parenting things to teach. And that's, one, you don't always get what you want.
You don't.
Like, these things happen. Like, there are things that are going to be, and you won't always get that candy bar in the aisle. In fact, it's a really big, important thing that they don't always get that candy bar in the aisle.
Otherwise, you expect it every time.
That's right. And if you cave, guess what? It gets worse next time.
Yes.
So, like this is always, and stores are this thing, like parents' nightmares, right?
They are really
stores,
hard.
where these kids are like, they start screaming, parents are embarrassed. Like, it's all like, what do I do? What do I do? And so what do you do? Like,
I say, again, you try to be proactive and go in with a well-fed, well-rested toddler who has something to distract them during.
Go like through the aisle where there's not the whole candy thing.
Yes.
Like there are aisles that
toy
are
aisle, right?
Yeah.
But if they lose it and they start to have a tantrum, you either let them finish it out, get to that crescendo, or you just take them to the car, let them finish it out there. Just leave your cart full. People do it all the time. It's fine. Take them to the car. But trying to reason with them and get through it in the store is not going to work.
That's right. There has to be, like, the important thing about this is that you are like, doing all of these things. But the other big thing is that if they actually do choose to have this behavior, there has to be a consequence for it, right? Like, so if I melt down in the store and like freak everybody out, I don't get to go to the store. I leave the store, right? I not only don't get the candy and don't get my toy, I don't get all of the stuff that we were going to get at the store, right? Like, that's a natural consequence of that behavior. It's not a choice your parents are making. Mm-hmm. It's your choice.
Right.
And teaching them that those choices do have consequences is actually a really important part.
To help you for life.
Right? It is all through life. And that's actually when we talk about behaviors that we start using, or parenting techniques that we start using now, these are the same ones that we use in teenage years, right?
Right.
Like, you can't always get what you want. There are consequences
for your actions.
For your actions.
Schedule is important.
Schedule, routine.
Eat and sleep every day.
Yeah, like routine is actually really important to this, right? And that actually is a huge thing for this age. Routines, again, are natural ways to set those boundaries for your children, and they make them feel so comfortable.
And safe. Like, they know what's happening.
They know what's happening. Like, I'm going to wake up every morning and mom and dad are going to be there, or mom's going to be there and dad's going to be there later, right? Like, or however that goes, there's a pattern to things, mm-hmm. and they really love those patterns. So routines are important, and they're important to like set up even before. Like, if you know you're going to the doctors, talk about what's going to happen. Read a book about going to the doctors. Make that a routine.
Right.
Right? So everything, those are calming, and they make kids feel better, and they actually prevent all of those things we talked about.
And they don't have to watch a video about it, right? They don't need to watch a video of what's going to happen. You can role play with them, and it'll be much more effective for you to interact with them, because that's what's going to happen in the doctor's office, rather than watching a screen where they're watching someone else interact.
That's right. Giving your child a phone is not parenting.
No.
So like, it is that is something we want to make really clear. Like if your child, like he's upset, he's getting upset, and you give him your phone, that is actually not parenting.
No.
And it doesn't help them in life, because that's what they want to do every time then. And it's what they're going to want to do as a teenager, right? Like if that's all they've been given is like whenever they get sad, they get upset. They're given this thing that like distracts them with like pictures that move all the time and all that. That's what they're going to want every time they get frustrated by trying to work hard. They, get frustrated in things they do. They don't get what they want. A teacher says they have to do something else. That's what they're going to want.
Yeah, and we know screen time is really a lot more dangerous for kids than adults. It's not great for anyone to have a lot of screen time, but for kids, it's really bad for their vision. It's really bad for their ability to pay attention later. It's really bad for their emotional attachments.
Right.
And it becomes addictive.
Yeah, it is. And so no, we really don't recommend any screen time under 2. At all, like nothing.
No.
And then for your older kids, it is a limited amount of screen time. And again, it is not a parenting device. It shouldn't be used to distract when they're upset.
Right. It's something that maybe you watch a show together and talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's for entertainment. It's not there to teach your child. You're there to teach your child.
And then if you do it, there is some really good, like Common Sense Media is a good one. Like can do it for different ages. But again, you have to keep that as part of the routine. If you do allow a little bit of TV when they're older or a little bit of time on your phone, it needs to be one that's kind of approved for their age, and it needs to have a limited amount.
Right.
And that's it. They don't get extra time because they get upset or cry. Like it is, okay, we have 15 minutes or we have a half an hour. Like this is it. We're done now. And you need to follow through on that each time.
And again, it's trying to just think ahead. If you know you're going to go to the doctor's office, you know you're going to go to on vacation, take things along that you know the child will enjoy playing with and looking at, like books, and they love puzzles. I mean, kids love to interact with real tactile things, and you don't have to depend on your phone.
That's right. That's right.
You just have to think ahead.
Yeah. So the big things we kind of like talk about for toddlers and preschool, you yourself need to model calm, really good behavior, which also means you need to be off of your phone.
Right.
If you're expecting your toddler to.
Yes.
It is the hardest thing when they come up and try to talk to you and like you're on your phone the whole time, right? Like, and you're looking at things. Then that shows them that you're not interested, you're not paying attention, and you're not engaged. And building that connection is so important for parenting across their lifetime. And this is this time that you can do it. So no phones, no TV. Try to learn how to really listen attentively. Like listen to what your kids are saying. They say the funniest things.
Especially when they get to 3. Whoa! Yes.
It's like the best.
It is. 3-year-olds have such a big imagination and have no ability to separate reality versus imagination. It's all the same thing to them.
Yeah, it is. We just talked about the fact that we'll talk about it a little bit later, but and then focus on positive behavior like we talked about. Notice the effort they're putting into things, especially. Like you don't have to praise every little scribble they make. Oh my gosh, that's a masterpiece. No, it's not. And they know it's not.
They're not dumb.
They're not dumb. They know that this little thing is not a masterpiece, right? But you can say, wow, you worked really hard on that. And, give them a
Praise
pat
the effort,
or
yes.
give them a kiss.
And when they are doing things to take care of themselves, right? They're taking their stuff from the table and putting it in the sink. When they are sitting down and reading a book while they're waiting for something. Praise those efforts that they're doing to kind of self-soothe and take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's when you want to notice what they're doing, because that actually, again, encourages them to keep doing that. And then and that create routines. Kids love routines. And especially when you're needing to get them into things, especially as you go into preschool, right? They need to be dressed at a certain time. So that's going to take a routine.
That's always a fun thing.
It is. And we talk about my daughter, and I'll talk about her, she was a really easy baby. And then I had my second daughter, and she was a nightmare, toddler. My one that was a toddler when my baby was born, it's it rocked her world to have a sister, and she didn't know what to do with it. And all of a sudden, all that really nice, wonderful behavior, it stopped.
Testing some boundaries.
Oh, she was testing so many boundaries. And again, I learned the mistakes I was making in parenting, and it was hard to learn that. Like I had to parent her differently than I parented my son.
Yes.
My son was actually really, after we got through those temper tantrums, he was delight. I didn't have to do a lot of extra parenting for him. He was very reward based. Like I would be like, okay, well, like we did a schedule, a routine. He was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. And then like, all of those things were easy. With my daughter, it was really hard. And part of it is that I had to create new opportunities for her to actually have autonomy.
Right.
And that's one of the books, like the Love and Logic series. It talks a lot about that. It talks about all of these things, creating routines, developing and modeling self-regulation, trying distraction, and then the consequences of behavior. And we talked about those natural consequences. But one of the big things it talks about is really being incredibly consistent about offering them choices.
Right.
So
Especially
that
as they get closer to 3.
Yeah.
Right. Because then they understand that there are choices.
Yeah.
And they can have control over their own life.
And they want some control.
They want some control.
They want control so badly.
I would recommend give them 2 choices over things you don't care about.
Yeah.
What shoe do they want to wear today? Where do they want to sit at the table? Which door do they want to get in the car? Constantly make up things that they get a chance to choose.
Yeah, like 99% of the choices in the day should be like their choices, but ones you limit.
Right. And
So
limit
don't,
to 2, because otherwise they just goes on forever.
Don't show them the whole closet and say,
Yeah.
what do you want to wear today? Pick out 2 outfits. Which outfit do you want to wear today? And making it like a routine and doing it even that the night before
I do
can
love
be
how
super
3-year-olds
helpful.
dress, though. You can always tell a 3-year-old in the store because you're the other one that's wearing like the craziest matching stuff, right?
Yeah.
Usually shoes on the wrong feet because they chose to put their shoes on the wrong feet. It's
That's
totally
right.
fine. It doesn't hurt anything. It's fine.
That's right, exactly. And those are the things, like let them make as much choice as you want about things that aren't important. But then when things are important, you can say, this is mommy's choice. I've let you make all these choices today. Like this is mommy's choice now. Also, if they don't make the choice, like give them 10 seconds and then you make it for them, right? Like, so you offer these 2 choices. Are you going to pick the toy up or am I going to pick the toy up? And if they don't pick the toy up in 10 seconds or they just yell no, you can pick the toy up, right?
Yes.
Like now you're like, okay, when he wants that toy again or she wants the toy again, you're like, mommy had to pick that toy up. So it's now up where mommy got it, right?
And there was a lot of toys in timeout in my house, right?
That's right.
Sometimes you're like, they go on top of the fridge and they're just going to sit there for a day because you didn't make the best choice with that toy.
That's right. You had an option to make a choice and you did choose something by not picking them up yourself, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing is that's a natural consequence of your choice. One of the big things we get is eating, right?
Right.
Like this age, like the 2-year-olds at the thing and they're like, I don't want to eat, and like throwing their food across the thing, right? And it's different than the 9-month-old who drops things and thinks it's funny. That is completely different.
9 to 12 months old, they're just experimenting with object permanence. Let
That's
them
right.
throw stuff down and pick it back up for them.
That's
fine.
right. But a 2-year-old who throws their food across the room, like that's not okay. So you can practice saying, like, again, your phrase, oh, we don't do that, or uh-oh, or oh, that, and be empathetic about it. You're like, okay, like that's really sad.
Sad the food's on the floor now, and now we can't eat it.
That's right. Now we can't eat it. And then like if they really seem like they're not hungry, you can let them out and down. But guess what? They don't get food like until the next snack time.
And yeah,
so
and
when
kids
they
are
come
really
back,
good at that, are regulating, right? It's like they don't overeat, they don't undereat until about age 4 or so. And so trust their instincts.
Yeah, not only trust their instincts, but also say, like this is where one of those things are like, we actually eat at this time. Right. Like you don't get to have a snack that you carry around with you as you play.
No.
1, it's dangerous for choking. 2, they don't eat. Like it's a really bad eating habit to get into because they're not actually reacting to their cues of food. And it's not great for them. And so that's one of the things we talk about the most is that like, it's okay. You let them down, they go play. And then when they come back and they want food, you're like, actually, you have to wait until
the next meal time.
This was a choice you made.
Right.
This was their choice. It wasn't your choice. You were not starving your child.
No, don't worry. There'll be another meal. And we talk about with mealtime, it's actually a time for sharing. It's not about the food. It's a time for conversation, a time to hang out together, look each other in the eye.
Bonding,
pay attention.
bonding.
We don't really care if you're eating or not. Just hang out here. You can bring a toy. It's fine. Let's just actually get together. And we know that helps kids in the long term, helps them keep their weight under control, helps them have self-esteem, helps them stay away from, other addictive things, to just have that bonding time at mealtime.
That's right. And so, and then if they come in, you just say, nope, we don't eat until the next meal. That includes dessert, by the way.
Yes, you don't get to earn that, right?
You don't get to get that dessert that everyone else gets to eat at the end of dinner if you threw your dinner on the floor. Like, that is a natural consequence of that choice that you made, right? And natural consequences and letting children figure those out are actually a really important part of parenting. And then let's say it's a toddler and they've chosen all these things, and now they're freaking out because you won't feed them. Right? You're like, I threw my food on the floor, but now I'm really mad, and I'm I'm hungry and I'm tired, and now they're blaming you for all of this. So what do you do?
I mean, so let's talk about timeout, right?
Yeah.
We talk about putting toys in timeout, but timeout is a thing that has kind of gotten a bad rap sometimes, but it's actually important. It's important to give your kids a break from the action. And timeout can be whatever you define it as. Some people have timeout chairs. You sit on the stairs. In my house, timeout was just a spot on the floor. Right? You can just sit there, turn around, and sit there until you're in a better place, right? Mm-hmm. And I distinctly remember my son screaming at me in the library, "There's no timeout in the library!" And I'm like, "Yes, there is, right there. That carpet square right there. That is timeout in this library." And it really helps everybody take a deep breath.
That's right.
Let's stop this craziness.
It's truthfully a timeout for both of you, right? Because when your child is acting like this, when they're screaming and yelling at you, saying things that you're like, oh my gosh, that's...
Who are you?
Who are you? Where did my child go? And why do I have this one now?
Because they're hungry.
Because they're hungry and tired, right? All parents respond in a way that is visceral. You're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And you start to freak out. You get angry. You get scared. All of these things are part of a natural thing when a kid blows up at you, right?
It's emotion.
So it is. And so you need to take time out too. And that's the biggest thing, is that if you can really show kids that you are calm in these situations and you can take that time to be calm, it is such a modeling of good behavior for them. Mm-hmm. And we laugh because we did time out with both our kids, and there's lots of different ways to do it. And you can read all these books. We kind of have them in our thing. Yeah. You are welcome to do it. A lot of them have a similar thing. They might not call it timeout or that, but they basically call it personal space, or one author did it's bedroom time, and basically he would say uh-oh whenever he had a word that they used every time a kid made a choice that wasn't great, and he's like, I think it's bedroom time, and then he would just take him and put him in the room, and then he would give him a choice. Door open, door closed. Again, if they screamed, it was door closed, right? But it was 30 seconds to a minute. It's not long periods.
It does not take a long
where you're locking your kids away. That has nothing to do with that. It's giving both of you time to calm. And that is so important in parenting. Then once you're both calm, you're much more able to deal with the situation and make sure it doesn't happen again. But again, it's consistency. If you say that, do it. Yes. Don't say, oh my gosh, if you do that one more time, I'm going to take you to timeout. No.
Just have them go to timeout.
That's it.
And again, some kids choose timeout. My daughter would put herself in timeout.
I know.
She would actually
all my kids did.
set a timer. I need 3 minutes. And she would press the number 3 on the timer. And I'd be like, all right.
I know. That is so your daughter.
She knew she just needed the break, right?
That's right. So a lot of these things, when we create routines, we develop and model self-behavior, we give them natural consequences. Those are all another part that I think is so important in parenting, which is taking responsibility for your choices.
Yeah.
So I really do feel like the world would be a better place if all people took responsibility for the choices they make.
Yes.
But these are one of the things that when we are thinking about what we want our kids to do, we had a few rules in our house. One is that we didn't hit. That was an automatic consequence. We didn't call each other names ever. Like, my kids were never allowed to call each other names, because I was like, my parents did a great job, I feel like, of raising me, but it was one of the things that we didn't do well. Like, and I still have some hurtful feelings from when my siblings and I would argue, and we argued a lot. Mm-hmm. And like, things would get personal, and they would say things, and I would say things that I still regret, like, from now, like, and yes. 50 years ago.
And again, so yeah, you give these rules to your kids from the beginning of like, this is what expectations for behavior in our house, and it makes it easier for everyone. Yeah,
it does. Like, and that's not how my kids argue. They don't go straight to the personal. Like, they argue in a much different way than I think a lot of even adults argue now. And then the big thing was that they did have to take responsibility for those actions, and that was a natural consequence. Sometimes if it was at school or other places, they would have to apologize or even do other things to make up for something they did. But responsibility is really important, and I think one of the biggest parenting things we can give our kids.
Right, and kind of we talk about toddler and preschoolers too, is that you need to give them an instant response, right? They don't understand delayed gratification or delayed punishment, right? Like, right. When things happen, you have to respond to it now, not threaten them. And the response has to be in a calm, empathetic manner. Yeah. Gosh, I'm sorry that you made that choice, but it's not a good choice. So I think you need to do whatever but follow through. Because if you give false threats, then it's a waste of breath.
It is. And that's the thing, is that like, these all are ways to really help them develop a healthy sense of themselves. Hey, I get to make choices. Hey, sometimes my choices aren't the best, and I know how to like make that better after I make that choice. Or I know that this choice, I'm going to have to do this. Like, so maybe I shouldn't do it, right? Which helps when they're teenagers and they're being offered choices that, again, are not so great, and you're not there to help them, right? Yes. So, and we talk about all that in another episode, but that's the big thing is then share the thinking and problem solving. So like, when you do offer like kids consequences, you can, especially as they get into older toddlerhood, let's share what's going to happen. Yeah. Let's make our routines, make these things. But what happens when like, I don't decide like to do the right thing, right? Or I make the choice that maybe is not the best choice for me at that time. What kind of consequence maybe will happen? Yeah. And sharing those problem solving things with your kids really helps. Or I'm at school, a kid hit me. What is my response, right? How do I solve those problems myself? It really gives children this amazing ability to exist in a world that they will have to exist in without you.
Right.
And that is truly the goal of parenting.
Because they can't control all the situations around them. They can only control their own behavior. So they have to learn how to do that.
That's right. And if we can teach them, then all of those things, then we've been successful parents. Now, again, you will make a ton of mistakes.
And
I made so many mistakes.
It's okay. Just love your kids, be there for them, pay attention to them, put the screen down when they come to you, and it'll be fine.
That's right. And this is Corinda Hankins, and
I'm Dr. Joanne Smith.
And we're hoping that this helps you parent in a way that will keep your child healthy, happy, and safe.
Thank you for listening.